Everyone, this is a new thing that I'm doing with Art is Not Sacred. This is Casey, one of my dearest friends, and one of my favorite people to talk to. He is, well, you can introduce yourself in full with your title before I say anything further. Casey, tell everybody who you are.
What is my title? I don't know.
World traveler.
I can just be honest with everybody because that's something that I'm focused on, of owning the fullness of what I do being the same in all categories. So for work, what I do is my mom channels an angel, and we have a spiritual community, and I do the life coaching in that community and work to make sure that our mission of evolving the consciousness of humanity maintains its integrity and its continuous reach and growth. And so that's what I do. But I, went to school for acting with Mickey. I love acting. I love performing. I do all kinds of fun things. I just did a primal retreat recently, climbing tree to tree barefoot. I love the biohacking. I'm doing a dark retreat soon. I you name it. I love to do it.
So among everything that Casey said, he's also one of my best friends. You are also one of my best friends. Groomsman at my wedding. Going to your wedding soon.
And he'll be a groomsman at mine, so
very excited.
It's not a one-way thing.
Reciprocal relationship here. But you are also one of my absolute favorite people to talk to, because I feel like every time we talk, we just go off into like this free flow state that's just very fun for me. But we also lived together for a little while, and now you have left me, and you've also left America, and you are now, where are you now?
I live in Barcelona for now.
In Barcelona. You were in Poland, and you were in, where else were
I've been
you
in
before
Guatemala.
that?
I've been in Canada.
Guatemala.
I've been in all over the place.
He's been all over. He's a world traveler, and leads a very exciting life. Before we talk about anything particular, I do want to talk about this dark retreat that you're going to do, because it's absolutely fascinating and terrifying to me. I wish I was the kind of person who could do this, and maybe one day I would be. But I'll preface this with saying I have been, since I was a little child, terrified of the dark. Very common, childhood fear, but it was deeply rooted in like my Catholic upbringing and everything that the nuns told me about the devil and lurking in the shadows and the dark. And so like even now today, as a 31-year-old man, if I'm outside in the woods in the dark, my adrenaline spikes, my eyes widen, and I feel like I need to run, like at every single moment. So the thought of doing 3 days?
Yeah, it's 3 days in absolute darkness where you can't see your hand in front of you, and also the sound. There's no sound besides your own body,
blood and heartbeat and
breath and shrieks or screams that you make. But let me just say, like, I was really afraid of the dark myself for most of my life, until I did actually a silent retreat. Was the first time where we would do these night walks in the jungle in Thailand, where you just follow the person in front of you and you're in absolute silence. There's no instructions, and you just focus on the head in front of you. And a monk leads you on these paths in circles, and they slow down and they pick up pace. And you're just absolutely in the dark, barefoot, just out in the wilderness. And it became like this extremely magical experience for me, that when I got back to the United States, when I lived in Lambertville, I started doing night walks in the woods and inviting people to do the same thing as like a spiritual experience. We're going to go barefoot and we're going just shut up everybody, and look at the person in front of you. No phones, no lights. And then we would skinny dip in the river, and we'd do that. And then like the novelty wore off and people didn't want to join me in the winter. And then I started to do it by myself. And one time I got naked in the woods, and then I got lost, and it was like one of my nightmares. And that was fun. I hit my head and I couldn't find the path anymore, and I panicked. And so then I had to find my breath, calm down, find the path. And then I found my clothes and everything came out. Didn't tell everybody was asleep by the time I got home.
This is the middle of the night.
Middle of the night, pitch black.
Oh my God, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So see, I learned I learned that I'm the scariest thing in the forest.
Heck yeah.
Not really, but like
I think if I was in the forest and I saw you, it would validate every reason that I'm afraid in the forest. I'd be like, yep, that's why I don't go out here.
Yeah, and then I realized that's a bad idea. I'm never gonna do it naked again.
All right. Well, so you're doing this this night this silent darkness retreat.
Yeah.
What do you expect to get out of this retreat? Because so just to preface again for anyone who's listening to this, our initial plan was to do this first episode of us together. It's going to be a sort of like a side episode to my regular episodes, and Casey's going to come on somewhat regularly, so we can do this. And our first one we wanted to get in before you do this darkness retreat, which is this upcoming weekend, right?
Yeah, it's I get to the place on the 15th, and then you have like a day to prep, and they massage you and do a sound bath and an intake thing. Then they put you in there, and then you come out and you have like 2 days to kind of integrate it. So it's 5 days, but 3 days total in darkness, the full 72 hours.
And then you have like a debriefing after for 2 days.
So that you can really, because otherwise it can happen, and then you have all of this like life-changing insight, but if you just move straight back into life, into your old patterns and behaviors, you don't really have a chance to extract the value and integrate it into how you practice living, right?
Yeah, and like sort of find vocabulary to articulate what it is that you experience, and then use those as mantras or reminders, or be able to write them down into something that's applicable and like memorable. Instead of just like, oh, fuck, that feeling is gone. I don't remember what that feeling was that I had. It was so great. And now it's gone, and I didn't do anything to remember it. But yeah, so we want to do this episode before you go, so we can do another one when you're back and talk about what you get from this, because I'm very curious to know what it's going to be like for you to be in pure darkness for 3 days alone, because you are maybe the most rambunctious person I know. And the thought of you sitting in dark stillness for 3 days is hard for me to believe.
Well, here's the thing. I don't need to be still. I can drum, I can scream, I can be naked and whip everything around. You know what I mean? I can have a good old time in there. Nobody's going to be there. No one's watching. It's just me and the infinite void. Amazing. Yeah.
So what is it that you intend to get out of this? Like, are you going in with any intentions at all?
Yeah, I've been really contemplating this. Well, let me first describe what I think is going to happen, and then how that informs my intention.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So, from my understanding of people who've done it, and I think this is like a really easy way to understand it, is like when you go into the darkness, your eyes dilate, right? They open to receive more light, but there's nothing there. And when you spend that much time in the darkness, not only do your eyes dilate, but your entire body, mind, and soul dilates as well. Your whole energetic field opens up to a receiving. And all of these layers of protection that we might be unconscious of, that allow us to function and thrive in this world where there's so much light and awareness and scrutiny on our being, kind of melt away. And you have this sense of complete openness, where you are now able to evaluate from a place of compassion who you are, what you want, and really see the intricacies of your soul. And the journey of shedding those layers might be a really scary and painful one, of all of these different things to let go of, right? But when you're there, what people have described is that they feel just so open. And I want to get to that state of openness. And I'm a very open person already. But it's something that it's one of my values, is openness. I really value being open-minded, open to possibilities, open to, alternative perspectives. And I want to see, where am I restricting myself in a way that isn't useful, and where can I actually close in a way that might be more useful? Where am I too open, right? And have a complete recalibration. And one of the things that and I think then this is what we can talk about. Like my intention, everything's going really well in my life, right? It's going really well. I'm getting married. Business is good. I'm healthy. I'm doing all kinds of athletic things. I'm traveling. I do what I want. And there's just a little bit of a shine missing, right? A sparkle. And I've been meditating on what really that is. And part of it is, when I went to acting school, I want to make people laugh. I want to experience this range of emotion that you don't get to experience when everything is hunky-dory in your life, right? But you can experience through scripts and acting and monologue and passion and performance. And I have actually stopped posting on Instagram for a while because I used to have a spark in my heart that was like, I need to share this with somebody. This is good. I can't wait to see them laugh or light up or have an insight. And I no longer feel that anymore, of like somebody has to pull something out of me. I need to feel that somebody wants something, and then I'm happy to deliver and give it. But that inspiration is missing. There's a block on it. And I want to open up again to feel inspired to perform and share, because it's like co-creating fantasy worlds where we can play together is what really, puts a little sparkle on life for me, and I'm missing some elements of play, not because I don't have people to play with, but because I've put some sort of block on myself.
Do you have any idea of like the advantage of the block that you've created for yourself, or why you might have done it? Or do you think that it's just sort of happened as you've ignored the passion?
I think that it's a safety of, even in my business, right? I get all kinds of emails of feedback. You go on Instagram, you read these horrible comments, you see people getting canceled on the news. And I guess there's an element inside of me that doesn't trust. Like, I trust my own values and I trust what I believe is right, but I do not trust that my moral compass is universal, and that inevitably, and that my moral compass is final, right? Because there are things that I thought were totally moral and ethical 10 years ago that are nearly appalling to me today, right? And so who's to say something that I do today isn't going to be morally appalling to me in the future and cause not only me, but the world more harm than it does good. And that's ultimately, and whether that's the story that I've kind of justified the walls for, but it's not necessarily true, right? Because perhaps what I do have to share could produce more good than harm. But then it also comes down to, who am I to share? Who's asking?
Yeah. I mean, that's my like biggest and most consistent, I think, impediment to this idealized version of myself that I want to be, is this belief that I don't have a reason or a justification for forcing my perspective onto the world, that like something that I know or think or believe is so important that someone else needs to know it as well. Because who am I to force myself upon my community or my environment unless somebody's asking? And it does provide, as an artist, it creates this a very similar block that you're talking about, that it makes me not want to share, because I believe that if the end result of my creating some piece of art is to share the art, then it dilutes the intention behind the creating of it when I was doing it, sort of like after the fact. Where if I create it in this sort of sacred way, so I could exorcise some sort of thing that was inside of me, get it out onto canvas, or get it out in a performance, or whatever it is, a poetry, animation, whatever it is that I'm doing, get it out, and I feel this catharsis, and then my next thought is, let me show this to people. Suddenly it takes it out of the vacuum that that is my own mind and my heart, and puts it out into this environment where now the immediate next step for like gratification from this piece that I made is validation from other people. And somehow, if that's the next thing that I want from this art, then it kind of it infringes upon the purity that it had when it was just about making it, you know?
Totally. And as I've examined like that all within myself, it really comes down to I invalidate myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I invalidate my feelings. I invalidate my insight. I invalidate my wisdom. And so really, thank you, because now I'm getting a little bit clear of what my journey in the dark is going to be, is how do I get to a point of really being able to honor and validate my own experience, right? Mm. So that when I do share, it's not because I'm sharing for other people to validate it, but I'm purely sharing because it's fun, right? Because when I ask myself, why do I want to share? It's like, because it's fun. But then the thing is like, does my fun trump the potential harm that this could do for someone? And when I was younger, it totally did.
It wasn't even a consideration.
It wasn't even a consideration, but now it is, right? But I guess the question that I'm curious what your perspective on is, with so many years and conditioning of invalidating our feelings, invalidating our wisdom, invalidating our impulses, invalidating our art, what's the first step to validating ourselves? Because it seems like you could say it, right? But like to really feel like, okay,
Yeah. I think it's that, that thing people say when someone is really depressed and they're feeling super, just self-deprecating, the things they say about themselves, the things that they believe about themselves, the sort of shit kicking that they give to themselves on a daily basis, the constant scrutiny. And you have a friend who's experiencing that. And you say to them, like, if you said to someone else the things that you say to yourself, you would be a bad friend to that person. Like if you were saying to me the things that you say to yourself, you would think it was appalling. But you let yourself say it to yourself, as though the value you place on me as a person in your life is so much higher than the value you place on yourself. And I think that the first step to trying to respect yourself or validate your experience is to try to view yourself as though you're your own best friend and you're not you, and talk to yourself as though you're someone else that you love, and see if those are things that you would ever say to someone that you love. And if they aren't, then try to reframe them, get the same point across, but reframe them in the most loving way that you can. And then slowly but surely, if you like pour a little bit of love into all of the self-critical, self-deprecating things that you believe about yourself, they become softer, and then they become less true. And then you can see them a little bit more clearly if you are talking to a friend about the things that they're doing that are wrong, or that are ugly, as opposed to believing that just because you're you can take it. Like you're bullying,
Right. Yeah, there is definitely that part of bullying yourself. And there are definitely some places where I still bully myself a little bit. But in this regard, when it comes to art and ideas and things like, messages, I don't necessarily bully myself about it, but I question if it's useful, right? And then the struggle becomes all the reason to pursue it is this useful to other people, right? Because whether it's useful to me or not is like, well, it is useful to me and I'm gonna use it, but is it useful to other people? And I guess where I'm struggling personally is, where is the metric of like what is enough? Like you could look up right now what do you need to do to be in the top 1% of fitness of men your age? And you have to do this many pull-ups, you have to run a mile this fast, swim this far, do these many push-ups. That's great. If you give me a metric like that, I will achieve it and I'll feel good about it. And I don't need to share with anybody that I did it. But then I feel like, good, useful, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to art, there is no objective metric. And even when it comes to advice or frameworks or whatever, it all is subjective. No matter how universal you believe the wisdom might be, it cannot be applied unless you could frame it in your mind of like, it can be applied if someone's ready for it. But who are you to determine what is ready for it mean, as if your advice is too advanced for someone? Because the best advice can be applied, like anybody can apply it, right? And so I guess like when it comes to advice, when it comes to art, when it comes to a performance, when it comes to art and a performance, for me, it's really, could I make people laugh? And through social media, you can't hear the laughs. You know what I mean?
So you're just doing it into the ether and then hoping.
But when it comes to wisdom, when it comes to wisdom, then you're waiting for that feedback of like, was it useful for you or not? But then you're stuck in that same trap again. Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to not approach the experiences that you've had, that have led to perspectives that you might share, as wisdom. Like when you're trying to share and impart wisdom, it almost feels like the sincerity of it it becomes a little selfish, because you're viewing what you have to say as though it is something, something that you have that someone else might need. It's like almost in a way, it's like commodifying the value of your experience. Whereas I think that if it's purely in a sense of like, you're in a position that I have been in, and there's a million ways to get out of that position, but this is the one that I used, and this is how it worked for me. And it's not that this is what you should do, or this is the answer to the riddle, but it's that, we all as people, I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but we all as people are perceiving this big world through one very small sliver of our own perspective. And we all have like one piece of this giant puzzle. And the more people we can share our one piece with, and the more pieces we can take or borrow or use or share from other people, the bigger our our unifying perspective becomes. And so my job as a member of our community is to learn how to communicate my piece to in a receivable way to as many people as possible, which is, I think, kind of what you're talking about. But
right, that's what I define as wisdom, that everybody has wisdom, which is their life experience that they have to offer. But the question is, like, what we're coming back to is my piece worth sharing because it directly applies to my context? Does my piece apply to your context? And the more isolated your context becomes, right, the less universal you feel your context is, the harder it becomes to justify, right, that sharing.
I think though that in the same way, specificity in storytelling as an actor or as a writer or a director, the specificity and the uniqueness of the experience is what makes it the most relatable. When you try to create like a vague or broad, overarching, widely relatable message, it's actually not relatable because it doesn't feel like true human experience. It feels like platitudes, or it feels like something it's just words. But when it's super ultra specific and contextualized just to your experience, everybody can relate to it, because though they don't understand your experience, they understand that their experience is equally as unique, and the things that are helping you in your specific scenario sound a lot like the different things that are helping me in mine. And I think it's as much the words that you say and the wisdom that you give, as it is the sharing of the fact that you're struggling too in this entirely different and seemingly lonely way, that makes someone feel less lonely, because they feel it. They feel that, oh, everybody has this unrelatable problem that only I have. And when you feel how silly it is that everybody has that, and you're like, oh, so it is actually my loneliness in my own experience is the most unifying quality about me with other people, you know? I think. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that's, well, always the question is, how do I give this a context, whether it's like the thing that I struggle with then is I'm really good at putting it into a metaphorical context, right? And that's easy and that's relatable. And I guess the other challenge that I find with that, because I know that exactly what you said is exactly right, but how do I respect my privacy and the privacy of others? That also became the new thing that ultimately started putting up blocks, because I was like, people have context into my life. I'm not just, me talking into a box doesn't only affect me, it affects the people that I'm bringing into that context, right? And so then, which brings me to like the ultimate thing that I realize I want to get back to, is creating stories in fantasy worlds in order to work through these processes and these concepts in a way that is really relatable, that is not damning for anyone, right? That keeps everyone's privacy and vulnerability safe and sacred in the process.
Well, yeah,
right?
it's like decoding a cryptic message, or turning it into some sort of cryptic code, where like this fictitious story is the exact sort of one-to-one replica of my real life experience that is very private, but it's been encoded, and so I can share it, and you'll receive the sentiment that I'm experiencing in my direct personal life, but you will not understand the actual truth behind this person in my life is actually sort of an amalgamation of these characters in the story, and so on and so forth. And then you can sort of keep your privacy but also be authentic with your experience. It's the same exact problem that I'm dealing with, where like the deepest issues that I have in my life, like the most stagnating and troubling problems that I'm experiencing in my day-to-day, I can't talk about them, because they are directly related to other people in my life who I love more than I need to be heard, and so because of that, I the most authentic things that I want to express are the same very things that I have to keep private, so we have to find these other ways to share the core issue without, like you said, damning others in the process, for our own sense of connection, or like being understood.
Right. And then that is ultimately the fuel of creativity. And so I think then the block is, if you don't know what to do with it, you block it up a little bit, or you breathe through it, and you can experience it and get it out of your body in all these different ways. But in order to make it something useful to a certain degree, right, it's like what you say, of like channeling it into your art, your writing, your stories, your performance, all of these kinds of things ultimately leads to that ultimate sense of fulfillment, where that energy isn't just dissipated and integrated, but reaches its form of actualization, where it can, be a piece of art that other people can relate to in a unique and profound way, and you can as well. And it's kind of like it's a really beautiful thing. Because, I've been thinking of like, what is really the point of life in some aspects of like, we're all in the rat race, but then say you have all the resources, say you have all the money, then what? Well, you focus on your health and you focus on your relationships, and then you focus on your purpose, right? Building skills and sharing your legacy, right? And that's kind of like what I see, like the order of priorities once, security is taken care of. Your health, your relationships, build skills so you can contribute to society in some way. And my question has been for myself of like, what is that final contribution? And it's so scary when you have an idea of like, what it should be, and you're trying to find every other answer besides that, because and it goes back to the title of your podcast is believing art is sacred stops you from creating sacred art. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. 1,000%.
You self-sabotage because you hold it as an ideal.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that like having an expectation for your art in any regard, be it like a classical art like painting or dancing or whatever, or the art of connection with the people that you're trying to help in the community that you and your mom have developed, or the art of, bricklaying, or the art of parenting, like the art of whatever it is that you do, like the present intentional communion with the thing that you're spending your life or a portion of your life doing, like that is art. And when you go into that with an intention beyond just communing with that present moment, you're
Maybe
doing
an
exactly.
Agenda might be an easier word.
Yeah, agenda is probably a less easily confusable word. With intention is also a very good thing, but with an agenda of like the value that this is ultimately going to bring, because it's in the end, when you go into anything with an agenda, the underlying layer of that is ego. It's control. How can I prove to myself that my life has value by prescribing a purpose for my activities, so I can believe that I'm feeding into something greater than what I'm spending my time doing, so I can feel like I matter, as opposed to just simply doing the thing and then let the mattering be decided by the result of the thing,
Totally. And another reason I'm really excited to go into the darkness is the question of like, what if I don't matter? What if I am nothing? Mm-hmm. How can I merge with non-existence and be okay with that? Right? Because when you merge with non-existence, when you merge with nothing, when you can say, I am nothing in a delightful, joyful way, not in a place of terror, dread, and shame, right? When you can say, I am nothing from a place of absolute love, peace, contentment, and joy, then your desire and need to control things in order to, establish your existence and importance in the world, I hope, lessens.
Yeah. One can hope.
One can hope, I would assume so, right? Because the control is ultimately that we don't trust whoever's putting this puzzle together. We want more control over putting the puzzle of existence together, rather than what we're here to do is just focus on your piece, coming back to that. And if you invest everything you can into your beautiful puzzle piece, you're going to fit into a beautiful place in the puzzle. But you trying to find the other pieces that you fit with and make sure that they go with what you're designing and all these kinds of things, it's not your job.
Yeah. You end up like in the black of the shadow of the tree in the bottom corner of the puzzle, and you're like, no, my puzzle piece is just all one color.
Right.
I think continue. Sorry if you had a thought.
No.
I think that thank you. I think that when I was younger, hey buddy, you can't go up there. No. when I was younger, in my experience of like trying to define my value, you know, as an artist whose father, you know, is an actor, who grew up like wanting to do performance and, you know, sort of imbibing in the full spectrum of the emotional life that one gets to when you're an actor, when you're a performer. You know, I really thought that my purpose was to sort of impact all of these buddy. Okay, you got to go down now. Was to impact all of these people through the power of storytelling and all these things, and that if I wasn't able to, you know, maximize my reach and impact through this craft that I was studying, then my purpose sort of, you know, my ability, it was less. My ability to reach my potential lessens. And I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that the mistake that I have been making, or that I was making at that time in my life, was that I was trying to spread out a finite amount of intention in the right context to as many people as I could, as opposed to taking the maximum amount of impact that I can provide with my attention on a fewer amount of people in my life, and that my true purpose and value, regardless of the overarching, you know, reaches of my impact, is the full intentional impact on my wife, on my friends, on my family. And that if I am not remembered whatsoever, and I fall into the pure non-existence after I'm gone, where the last time my name is uttered is but 2 generations after my death, and that's okay, because while I was here, I profoundly and irreversibly changed a small number of people in the most impactful way. And I think that is a much healthier purpose to chase, or to try and represent, because it's attainable for absolutely everybody, and all it takes is the choice to do that
and invest, right?
And invest. It requires no it's not beholden upon like the external world and the external forces in your life, you know, to have the maximum impact on the most amount of people, whatever. That's not, you can't do that alone. You need other people to want it and to share it and to spread it, and so you don't have any control over that, but you do have control over your world,
sphere of influence, right?
Yeah. Sphere of influence.
Well, because it's so sustainable, but it requires so much patience and trust and letting go, right? And surrender, because ultimately that is the path to the purpose that you were seeking as a child. Because as that cup, right, your main bowl of your wife and your family and yourself and like the people closest to you, when you become masterful at that, the water from that bowl just starts to overflow and to overflow and to overflow, and now you have real unlimited value because you're connected to the faucet, right? Where before you're just a cup and you're trying to pour in all these cups, and then your cup's empty. Then you got to wait for like it to rain.
For the next rain.
And then you pour all of your stuff, right? But here you're connected to the spring of life, and it overflows. And so then you do have all this stuff to pour into all these other cups, and it's based off of your choice, and it's real, and it's not depleting, and it's genuine, right? And that's the path. And it's interesting, as you were talking, I was reflecting on like what my same thing was as a kid, and part of it was like, I want to make the whole world laugh. I want to make the whole world laugh so hard that everything's okay. That's what I really wanted as a kid. And now that I'm reading this book about laughter and realizing that laughter is a sign that everything's okay, that's all I ever wanted. That's all. And deep down, that is all I really want. I just want everyone to be okay. On the selfish level, that then I'll feel more okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the same reversal. When I connect in to making sure that me, this man, is incredibly good, then that also impacts how much I can give to my wife, to my family, to the people in my community, and all of these kinds of things. And that's the ultimate success, when I have my own inner laugh.
Yeah.
All the time.
I love that. I think to sort of piggyback off of what you said about, when you do intentionally, give all of yourself and your best to your small circle of influence, that is how you gain that larger influence. I think that that's true after the fact. But I think that to want that, or to knowingly acknowledge that that might be where it leads to, is
Trap.
It's the trap. Because then you're not being authentic in the, you have a side agenda. And that's the troublesome part, where like the ego always kind of creeps in, where like, where does my value, I mean, and I think even with my personal relationships even with my own wife, like I want to know that I'm valued, and I do know that I am, and in many ways my actions toward her are purely for her, and then underneath there's a little bit of like, but also when I get the reciprocal or even just the validation from her, that's for me, and that's like, so I can believe that I'm valued. But and I think the other thing, to totally move off of that idea, that's not so bad of a thing. I think that all of the, the writings and the teachings to like get off of your ego, and the ego is like one of the most central parts of being a human. Like, we all have it, we all are it, and we all have this unique sliver of perspective, and that is us. And we have to also celebrate that our desire to be valued and have value and have our purpose and matter to others is also part of that faucet. Like, it's the reason I want to do anything, is so I can feel like I've done something. But no one cares after the fact if you felt like you did something. But because you felt like you wanted to do something, you did do something, and that's the part that matters.
All right, I'm going to say something kind of crude. So anybody who doesn't want to hear this, just skip ahead a couple seconds. I'll go like this, so you know that I'm done being crude. But, I think in the relationship to our ego, which I think this is funny, is that your ego is exactly like your penis, right?
Hell yeah.
I have a penis. I love my penis. It has a mind of its own, but I am not my penis. I am a man with a penis, right? And my penis wants to do things. Some things good, some things bad. Right? It has its own agenda, but I am not my penis. I am not my ego, right? I have an ego, and it's great to have a beautiful, healthy penis, right?
Yeah, and well, without one, you can't make another person,
Exactly.
Like, it's the source of life, but it's also the source of many of the troubles,
And so the same is your ego. And so if you're so obsessed with your ego, it's like being obsessed with your penis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, my penis is this big. My penis is that big. It's this, it's that, it's hairy, it's this. You know what? Nobody gives a shit, dude.
Yeah, you're sending ego pics.
Right, ego pics. Yeah, that's what Instagram is a bunch of ego pics.
Yeah, it's
right?
just ego pics.
And so, it's about learning to love it, to be comfortable with it, and to use it in a way that is beneficial to everybody it comes into contact with, and create the least harm possible with it as well.
Yeah. And,
all right.
and maybe in this specific context, the least amount of contact.
Right.
Or the best amount of contact with the fewest amount of people.
Right.
Not trying to maximize contact.
Yeah, you don't need to have it out in the world,
Yeah.
keep it in, and you can show it with people that you're closer to, but you know, and that's real vulnerability. That's when you're being really vulnerable. But if you have it out all the time and you're swinging around, people are going to be grossed out by you, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to want to spend time with you.
They can sense the lack of authenticity. Like it's so easy and quick when you're watching things on social media and whatever, these ego portfolios that everybody has, who is genuinely sharing art and who is sharing a product. You can feel it like instantaneously, you know, that this person doesn't actually care about the impact that this thing that they're doing has on the viewer. They care about the value that they receive for providing this product or service to anyone at all, regardless of the negative impact it might have on the, you know, on their community at large, because they get their bag, you know, and that's all they really want.
Right.
And you can sense it right away. And then it's like, I am grossed out by that. And so I often feel, maybe unjustifiably, that my desire at all to share something on this platform where I see all those people puts me in the same category as someone like that. And so it makes me hesitant to want to share, in part because I don't want to be seen that way, but in part because I don't want to be that, you know? But with the bad, something fell right off my window. But with that, I'm also, you know, no one is viewing me that way because I'm not doing that thing. But because of that, I'm also withholding the good that I could provide, you know, to come back to where we were before.
Right. It's like, you know, being
this
afraid of
fear
your own
of being
sexuality.
perceived.
Right?
Sure.
You become, you know, you see someone who's so, well, you know, to bring it back here again.
Elaborate.
But like, you see someone who's so overtly sexual and flirting with everyone, and it feels leaky, and you're like, I really don't want to be like that, right?
So you become more prudish, and then
you go to the reverse, and then you miss the opportunity to flirt with the love of your life and have the relationship that leads to everything you ever wanted, right?
Yeah. Well, you're stereotyping a style of living, you know, kind of where you say like, well, because this looks like that, all of anything like that must also be that. So I don't want to participate at all.
It's making an absolute about the flirting, right?
Yeah.
It's my language was about to just go down, so I'm gonna hold back a little bit. No, I'm just gonna say it, you know, because what you're doing is you're saying like, sluts flirt, and I'm not a slut. So then you're you know, conflating sluttiness and flirtiness, but you can flirt and be a person of integrity, a person of seriousness, of meaning, of purpose, of faith, etc., right? It doesn't take away. It's just everything fits in a different context, and everything has a certain, and each context has a different level of scale, right?
Yeah. Everything's a spectrum, man.
Everything's relative.
Everything's relative. Yeah, dude, I don't know. So you're going into this dark room. You want to learn how to be okay with not mattering. I want to take this thing that I want what your podcast is, which is funny because at first I was really resistant to the title, which I know a lot of people are, but I want to remove the sacredness from my art, which really I want to remove the idealism around my art and the ideal of what my art should be, and allow it to be exactly what it is and have it. And that's it, you know? And part of it is I haven't quite found my medium. Part of it is that I have a responsibility to deliver talks on a regular basis. And I'm giving all my energy to that. And I'm giving all my energy to all these different things that in a way I process through. So then I don't have as much left to process, like to concentrate, to build up into this, like, and channel into one avenue. I'm in that boat too, because I find that I'm a very much a jack of all trades, master of none type of person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my interests dart back and forth all around to different mediums, different styles uh, of expression in like every way, and in no sort of organized manner. Like I'll be knees deep in a project that I'm really enjoying doing, you know, some sort of animation style poetry or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I want to learn how to make wallets. And then I just do that for 2 months. And then I'm like, I kind of want to make bottle openers. And then I'll do that. And then I'll go back to like, I want to make a film, or I want to do whatever, making a podcast, whatever it is that I'm doing. And it spreads me very thin. And when people ask like, what do you do? You know, I typically say that I'm an actor because it's how I make a living. But it's probably, in terms of the amount of time I spend doing that, it's probably one of the things that I do the least comparatively to the other art forms and forms of expression that I spend my time doing. So I don't know what to call myself other than just an artist or a person who like likes to do the shit that I like to do.
Trust me, man. You gave me anxiety when you were like, introduce yourself. I was like, I don't know. You know? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way every time. But, you know, you're Casey.
I'm Casey. That's really what it comes down to. I am me.
I am me. I'm just a guy doing a thing.
Yeah.
But no, it feels very almost not useful to try and define your value in any way. Like, or not that it's not useful to try and define your value, but I think that I'm doing someone else's job. My value is not for me to define. My value is for me to provide, to share, to cultivate, to maximize in whatever way I might deem that, fit. But to define it is for the people who are the recipients of it. You know, like the value of my art is not for me to define. The value of my art is for the people who enjoy it. And if they don't, then all right, then it doesn't have value in that way. And that's fine because it's not why I made it.
Right. And what I'm finding now in my life I would say, and I think like, I'm serious. I think like 80 to 85% of the stuff that I do in my life, I just do it because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll tell you, like, with maybe like 2 years ago or even less, like a year ago, 80% of the stuff that I did was to be valuable. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think living in Spain has been one of the things that has really helped me with that in terms of the culture of like, dude, we're here to live.
No one cares.
Go to the beach, take a swim. Nobody gives a crap, right? Are you enjoying your life or not? And so I still have that, whatever, 15% of me that's like, value. I need to be I need to be a more valuable human being. I need to be more skilled and be able to be of more service to humanity. And I think I'm really ready to let that go and just like be content with enjoying living. And I think that when I am, that 15% is really the thing in the way of me creating the art that I want. And part of it, something that I want to go back to, unless you have a really important comment on that.
I have a not really important comment on it, but I just wanted to say it.
Say it.
Do you have your thing you want to go back to?
Yeah, I'll remember. Wait. Fuck.
Okay.
Hold on. You know, if you close your eyes for 10 seconds after something, you remember your memory's 3 times better. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that, for every king of England or France or whatever in the 14, 15, 1600s, these people that history remembers, there was a peasant farmer who lived on his little plot of land with his wife and his 5 children, who had this beautiful little relationship where they weren't involved in the wars, they weren't involved in the issues of the kingdom. He grew his crops, he fed his family, he laughed and played with his children, he died at an old age in bed at home, surrounded by his little family, and nobody knows his name and nobody remembers him. And he lived an equally as valuable life to this small amount of people as, like, you know, someone who's conquering other territories and changing the world in one way or another. And I try to think about that a lot, of like, there's so many nameless people who live these tiny little perfect beautiful lives all around these valuable people, these influential people. And I think that that's as perfect of a human story as anything else, is the ones that are not written about at all.
Yeah, totally. Something I'm going to say about that, and then we'll get to my other thing. I hold them in my fingers, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So the thing that came to my mind when you said that is, like, I think we all end up having the same amount of value overall, because if you add in the like think about those kings. They have a huge positive impact, but also a huge negative. Where you might have a huge positive, but because, like, you might have a smaller positive, but your negative's also smaller at the same time, right? And it ends up being the same thing. And like when you're in that kind of dynamic, your negative, usually the negative stays contained and close, and the positive reverberates out. So like if you're like just a really good father, that's going to impact your kids. That's going to impact your wife and your neighbors, and just the good of who you are will get out. And the little negative, eccentricities, maybe your wife will talk about them at your funeral, right? And that doesn't really impact other people, compared to if you're a king, right? And you impact the entire empire, right? Millions of people are going to be damaged because of that, like have their lives ruined, right? So then it all comes out in the wash, as they say. But in a way,
agree.
right?
I totally agree.
So the other thing that I wanted to get back to is, and this is really, and I know we talk about this a lot, but I believe, I want to believe more in the divine, and let me get to the reason why. Because part of me is like, I really just want to make people laugh, and I want that to be okay. Just like how I want to get a little validation, and I want that to be okay. And part of believing in the divine is that the divine made me this way and planted this desire in my soul to want to do that. And maybe it's not my job to fix that right now and to put a judgment on it, but to act on it and fulfill it. And perhaps in the acting and fulfilling on it, it will course correct itself in more of a divine timing, rather than my ego's idea of what timing it should correct itself on. And I think that with all the validation, all these things of like, how can we make some of these things that, if we were an enlightened person, we wouldn't want it that way, okay again?
Yeah. No, I think that I completely agree with the sentiment that I too want to believe. I want to have faith. I grew up Catholic, in a very Roman and Byzantine Catholic, two sides of my family, and I never had it. Like I watched my family have it, my mother, my father, my sister, my aunts, my grandmother, my uncles, my cousins. They all had it. It's so easy for them to believe, and I never had that easy, like, no, yeah, I feel it. I always doubted it. I was always like, this doesn't make sense to me. Faith truly is, if you want to use the vocabulary of a faithful person, faith truly is a gift. And not everybody has it. And I don't think it's a skill you can learn, or a thing that you can like push yourself into. Like, it truly is something that you have or you don't, or it happens to you or it doesn't. And for all of my doubt, and all of the reasons that I can substantiate my doubts, I look at the peace that a faithful person has, and I am envious of the simplicity of and the certainty that everything is ultimately okay, no matter how not okay it might look for them, how much their life is falling apart. This like certainty that it is all part of some sort of cosmic plan. And I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, my experience, like I definitely have faith, and I feel it in those moments. That's when you really feel it. When someone dies, when you break your back, when you lose everything, when you're in a breakup, when you're whatever it is, like usually that's where my faith becomes the most active. And it's so like beyond the fact that it's beautiful, it's just so useful, and it's so comforting, and it's so just like I just want I want to I think that you can cultivate it. And one of the ways that I think that you can cultivate it is just
Psilocybin.
It's psilocybin. No, but by continuously, like the way that I notice when I'm really cultivating it is when I speak to that energy, when I speak to an energy greater than me, right? And usually you speak to that energy greater than you when something is beyond, right? Out of your control. And that's when people start speaking to it. But really everything's out of our control. And the more that I can transcend the illusion that things are in my control, the more that I can speak to this greater force, this greater energy field around us, whatever you want to call it, to, co-create with me, to be in relationship with me. And the more that I'm in relationship with it and I'm no longer trying to control it, the more it likes me. Because, you wouldn't like me very much if I was trying to control you all the time. I was like, it has to be this way. Come on, please make it this way. Yeah. Right? But if I was like, how do you want to make it?
Yeah, I want to make things with that person. It's more fun.
Right. How do you want me to show up today?
Yeah.
And you kind of, but the thing is like, you're mute. But you communicate in all kinds of magical ways. You leave like little notes, you give a little signal, you give a little hint, right? And that's how it communicates with you. And you have to like guess and have a gist, but at the end of the day, like trust that it knows what you're saying more than you know what it's saying, and you should trust it because it has your best thing at heart. And that is ultimately the thing that every time that I've surrendered to that, my life has gotten significantly better. And part of it is just saying a prayer, right? Of I'm going to do what I know what to do. And my intention is for everything to go well. So please cover my butt.
Yeah.
And it's super practical. And you just let go. And then your brain is able to let go of that control. And whether it is the divine or it's your subconscious or whatever it is,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's working.
It works.
I think, I even use the term I think. I have placed so much more value on my thoughts than my feelings in my life, and not maybe not practically, but anytime I'm discussing these things or trying to meditate on these ideas. I say meditate loosely, because the value I place on something making sense to me is so much greater than the value I place on something feeling right to me. That even if it feels as right as it does, as it makes, or as it doesn't make sense, it not making sense is more important to me, because that's the value I've placed on, on how I structure sense in my reality. It's so much of it's up here. And I acknowledge that I'm feeling like this whirlwind of other things that I kind of say, like, shut up in the back of the class. I'm teaching a lesson up here to all these, to all these other feelings in my body. Yeah. I'm like, hey, you're the rambunctious Mickey in kindergarten who was standing up on his desk in at 5 years old, while I'm trying to teach a lesson up here about how the world is supposed to work, and you're not listening to it. Supposed to. The agenda. Not at yeah, you know, like I'm mapping out in uncharted territory that is constantly changing and moving. That billions, if not, I don't know how many people have lived throughout history. A trillion? I don't even know. But a lot of people have tried to map this territory before, and no one has been able to do it. And here I am every day waking up thinking I can do it. And it's and it's so
Today's
futile.
the day. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to map out the world and everything's going to make sense to me now and everything's going to be
Right.
fine now. But then something happens, like somebody dies or, you know, some sort of tragedy strikes, and all of a sudden your map gets torn apart and these things that you've been ignoring in your body start flying all around again, and you're trying to catch them, you know, bats with a butterfly net. They're flying right through the freaking net, and you're feeling like everything's falling apart instead of just being like, hey, you know what? Fly how you're going to fly, and I'll see you when you land. Like go perch on a tree branch, and maybe because I let you fly all the way to that tree, I had to follow you over there to get it, and holy shit, I never noticed this tree before. And now I'm over here, and you brought me here, and now you're willingly coming back home, and I have this new plotted point on my map that I never even knew existed because I never let you get away.
Why?
You know? Yeah. My feeling bats that, that
My
fly
feeling
all
bats that
Yeah.
hang on the ceiling and want to suck my blood.
over. They want to suck my blood. But I'm teaching a class, so they're not allowed.
But I'm teaching class, so you're not allowed to fly. And then you try and hit them
Exactly.
with tennis rackets.
Yeah, and they're all battered and beaten.
Yeah, and then they get angry
Fly
at
into a
you.
wet market. Then we get COVID. So
Yeah, because the way that I've always looked at the world, and I think people have thought of stupid because of this, because I don't actually value if things make sense. I value one thing and one thing only: does it work? Right? Like I don't care if my phone makes sense. Does it work?
yeah,
Does it help me further my intention? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, what are we doing here?
you're putting your baseball hat on inside out at the bottom of the ninth, hoping that it's going to help someone hit a home run.
If it works,
Being like,
it works.
Hey, if it works,
Why not? I'm open to it. I'm open to trying anything.
I don't need to understand.
Always have been. Because
Yeah.
how the hell am I going to understand? I'm not ever going to understand, right? Everything is so beyond my comprehension that I'm like, dude, it works.
Yeah, I don't know.
But here's the thing, like, what do I mean by it works? Because my philosophy here in life is that, you know, we think we desire all these things, like the body, the relationship, the fulfillment of our purpose and self-actualization and money and houses and Ferraris. But do we actually want that, or do we want to feel the way that we think we'll feel when we have those things? And so really what it comes down to, does this make me feel the way that I want to feel? And if it doesn't, it's not working. And if it does, it's working, even if I don't know why. Why does it make me feel so good? I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And that could be, you know, and I think a lot of people have thought of me or made a personal box of me as an idiot for being like that. But man, you know,
but it's working, so whatever.
it's working, right? And so the question is like, freedom, right? Why do we restrict the bats? Why do we put the bats in a cage? What do we think we're going to get out of that?
Control. I mean, it's what you said before. It's I'm not going to walk into the woods at night because it's dark out there and it doesn't make sense to me for my own self-protection to put myself in a situation that I might not have control over. So I'm not going to go. And if I don't go, then I don't have to chart out that part of the map. And then my map is smaller and I don't need to worry about it being any bigger. I'm going to stay in the house. It's safer. It makes more sense. I can do what I need to do. I can go to work. I can provide for my family. I can do the thing. And I do not have to feel the things that are scary to feel even though I have no idea what it is that I might get if I just felt brave enough to feel them a little bit. And I think a lot of it is fear. Like I think for so much of it, the idea that there might be this greater thing out there, you know, the sort of philosophical problem of suffering and all that, like there must not be a God because God is either you know, all powerful or all good, but he can't be both because evil exists in the world, and therefore, you know, if God is both all powerful and all good, then why would these things be happening? So he's either all powerful and not all good.
Who are we to determine what's good?
Well, that too is, you know, the
mortals.
definition of what is good is, I suppose, what is good for us.
Right.
Which, you know, in a personally, that's how I'd like to define what's good. Is what's good for humanity. But, you know, maybe every once in a while a hurricane needs to happen.
For humanity?
I don't know, but when I see babies, you know, dying needlessly because of political circumstances, I think, well, this can't be good. Like there's something about this that's not good. But it's allowed to happen.
In this context, in this scale, it's horrible.
Yeah, and so I think that for me, the idea that there might be something, conscious as we understand it or not, pulling the strings, some sort of divine eternal operator, makes me feel as though my desires, my goals, my hopes and dreams are for naught. Like they're useless, because I'm not the main character of this story. And
who is?
The great bat.
The great bat in the sky.
The great bat in the sky. But what I'm saying simultaneously is that feeling is a you know, it's a deeply fear-based feeling. It's one that, you know, I for all of the reasons that it doesn't make any sense to me on a logical, you know, standpoint, that there might be some sort of theistic God that knows me and loves me and cares for me and has my best intentions at heart and wants me to succeed. You know, that has the idea that it would have any human-like desires for me. The idea that there's that some sort of deity could even love the way that we love, to me is we're anthropomorphizing something that we don't have a right to anthropomorphize, and we're ascribing qualities to this thing that are so mortal and human, so we can understand a thing that is beyond our understanding. And so I immediately discount the idea at all, because anyone who's certain of that is already so outside of their scope, you know, of understanding, that it's like, why am I even listening to you? You're saying,
what do you mean so outside of their scope of? Well, here's one thing. Here's one thing. A question is like, well, where do you feel that you got your capacity to love, and where did that thing get its capacity to love? Where did how did love come to be? Where did these qualities come to be? Right? It came from nothingness, right? And so maybe nothing is ultimately everything, right? And what would you say if it was just an algorithm, right? A programming. And it was a programming that was slightly pre-programmed, but you co-program it with it, you know? And your participation in that co-programming dictates how it's going to, you know, your whole situation, your whole life is going to unfold. Not only yours, but the shared collective programming is going to filter out. Does that make... What do you think of something like that? Is it really getting caught up on the personification of an entity that has an ego that really gets you caught? Because I don't believe in an entity that has an ego that, you know, loves me and hates you. But I do believe in natural laws that have been programmed into this whole thing, and a conscious energy force that is aware enough of it and us to interact with us as conscious, if not more conscious than we are, right?
Mhm.
And our consciousness is simultaneously its consciousness. It's inextricable. You can't separate it, right? And so your consciousness is that consciousness. And your sense of agency is co-creating the algorithm that we're all participating in together.
Mhm.
And what if you, instead of surrendering to God, you surrendered to the co-creative algorithm?
I think I also this, you know, I suppose you're effectively talking about the simulation theory and like the idea that we are living in some sort of algorithmic simulation.
Sure.
But
But does that idea of God...
it quells no fears, that idea. But it's also, you know, I think I'm using the idea of the fear thing sort of, I suppose, to try and maintain the efficacy of the metaphor of the dark woods and all that. But if we abort the fear idea for a second, I do think too that, like, I spent a very long time trying to understand, because of the upbringing that I had in Catholicism, and because of the community that I was in where everybody felt that way and I didn't. And my desire to feel that way, or my desire to debunk it completely. But either way, it was my mission. Like, I was
Right.
I was very deeply interested in studying religion and theology, all different types, and found myself, you know, very steeped in the atheist, you know, the new atheist movement, and was really, but like all I was doing was talking about these things because it was like the thing. It's been the most significant sort of battle in my life.
Right.
And I think at some point, I don't know how many years ago it was, but at some point I just decided that I don't care like I used to. And I spent all my younger years, I always was a believer that I would rather know the truth than be happy. And at some point in the last few years, that flipped. And now I just don't particularly care to know. Like, I have my doubts. I'm not sure. I don't believe it. But I also am not certain that it's not true. And I also don't think I need to spend all of my time trying to figure it out anymore. Because the more, like what you said, the more I stop trying to figure it out and understand it, and the more I instead just like live my good, the more good becomes a reality in my environment.
Right.
It's like it's calmed the waters. My you know, I feel like, you know, when you're sitting in a hot tub and all your friends are going around in a circle as fast as you can, trying to make a whirlpool in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? And then
no, I know.
And then suddenly, you know, it's exhausting to do that. So you eventually just stop, but the
You
water
float
keeps
in the
going
whirl.
for a little while. And then
Mhm.
eventually, after you've stopped long enough, it goes back to still. And I feel like I stopped, and it was really scary and tumultuous because it was all still happening, but I stopped spinning. And then, and over the last few years, it's just kind of, it's all stilled. And I'm like, you know what? I love to talk about it, but I don't feel so desperate to you know, uncover some mystical secret or truth about it anymore.
Yeah, I feel the same way coming from the other perspective.
Hell yeah. I feel like we just talked for an hour about trying to figure this out, and then at the end of it said, but I don't really care.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I do care, but my pursuit of the truth is what is true here and now, and how can I transcend as much illusion as possible rather than discovering the ultimate truth. Because I can only handle the amount of truth being revealed to me right now. And my quest is, how can I remove all of the stories that are clouding my ability to receive the gift of truth that I am being granted in this moment in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's kind of like where I've landed on the whole thing, and that there is something delivering truth to me and helping me move through all of these illusions and giving me signs and clues and insights into what stories am I holding on to that are limiting me, that are causing me, back to what we were talking about before, fear, right? That are making me afraid of exploring and expanding my awareness to more corners of the world and more topics of, our psyches and etc. Right? What
Yeah.
and it lead and in that pursuit of truth and letting go of these illusions and trusting that I will not be given a truth that I can't handle, right? That's my faith, that I'll be given no truth that I can't handle, that I continuously continue to expand my awareness in one way or another, and that's what I enjoy doing. And for some reason, the thing, you want to know what I'm actually the most afraid of?
Yeah, I do. Is it Barney?
No, to be honest, like when I really think about it, I've always been afraid of harming others unconsciously, unintentionally, and being essentially canceled, right? Being canceled is probably like the biggest fear that I need to transcend and get over. In
Like the idea
way.
that your community would all come together and decide that they'd be better off without you in it.
Yeah, where I do something that I am unaware is wrong, and then nobody gives me any grace, teaching, or learning, and punishes me in eternity with shame.
Mm.
I am more afraid of that than I am of dying. I swear to God, I would rather get eaten by a hyena than have that happen.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I would probably rather that too. I mean, I haven't explored that as a possibility in my life to then really become afraid of it. But I think that if I even sat now and thought about that happening, it would be the worst. Only because integrity and honor are like the two qualities that have been pounded into my head from my father since I was a child. And if I
Right.
lost those things, yeah, I mean, it's the scariest idea.
Well, and part of it is like trusting my own integrity and honor, that like, do I trust that my integrity and honor is object? Because the thing is, I don't trust that it's objective, because I see how subjective people's morality is. And even if I objectively believe in my values, my integrity, that I've taken action with my values and integrity, like part of my values is not causing harm to other people. And if my action, though it like I interpret it as being in integrity, cause someone harm, that's a conflict that, ultimately I want to live with. I will do the right thing even if it causes someone else harm, and anything that I do shouldn't ultimately cause anyone harm. But the idea that I'm not confident that that is completely true, and one of my highest things is not causing harm. It's this conflict
like
inside of me. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like unintentionally causing someone harm. I guess it depends how you define harm, because if I'm unintentionally preventing someone else from getting something that they deeply want, I don't know if I'm necessarily causing them harm, because we are not aligned, all of us in this world, and there are many things that people want that would directly impede on my ability to get what I want, and vice versa. And I usually live my life trying to mitigate as often as I can getting in the way of things that other people want, even oftentimes at the detriment of me getting what I want, because I don't prioritize my own goals and desires over the well-being or the value of my relationships, long-term and deep, or short-term and surface level. Most, if not all, of my relationships are typically more important to me, even in the moment and long term, than getting the things that I want. I'm being redundant now, but because of that, I'm in conflict often with one of my values, which is being able to make my partner and eventually my family feel safe with me as their provider, or their leader
Steward
of the family. Yeah, steward of the family. And that will not happen if I don't prioritize the things that I want to achieve, to attain, whatever.
Right.
But it's a short.
And it sounds like you already came. You already came to the reframe there of realizing that the best way that you can prioritize those relationships is by prioritizing,
what I want.
Things that,
because what
that
I
you
want is what is for them. It's not for me.
Yeah,
But
and
at the same time, it is for me.
it is for you, but you and they are bonded for life, and what's good for you is good for them, and what's good for them is good for you, right? Because
Yeah.
you're a family.
Yeah, and so the reframe exists. It's conscious now, which is the next, the biggest step, I think, is to make it conscious, and be able to articulate what it is that you're trying to, the dragon you're trying to defeat. But the next step is now to be able to make it so conscious, make myself so aware of it, that in any given moment when I do my instinctive other thing, to be able to inhibit and then redirect.
Right.
Which is where
it's like how you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice.
Oh, I was like, I could just look that up in my GPS.
Yeah.
I could get there pretty easy.
Practice, because it just comes down to, now that you know it, you just practice it, which is the hardest thing to do. It's so hard
To practice it.
Yeah.
Well,
but
I mean,
practice.
No, yeah,
Go ahead.
go continue. I'm sorry.
No. Say what you were going to say.
Oh, I was going to say, I've been practicing the guitar for 20 years. It's still not a very good guitar player.
Right. You just have to have a strong enough reason,
so hard to
right?
pick it up and do it instead of anything else.
Well, like, I have a similar thing to you, right? And I recently had a big wake-up call because I made a decision. And not only, I was like, whatever, in the decision, and that would be fine if it just impacted me. But it didn't. It impacted my whole family. And I couldn't sleep for weeks. Because I knew what was right, and I gave in because someone's desire was stronger than mine, and I said, whatever, the relationship's more important, because that's what I always do. And not only did it negatively impact me, my family, it also impacted the person I want to have a good relationship with, because it wasn't in alignment with the truth. We allow someone else's illusion of what they think feels good or feels right, or what they believe is right, and we are open, so we question our own what feels right, is right, etc. And if you really feel that strongly, I'll defer to you. But it was a moment of like, that's not an option anymore, boy. You need to be a man. You need to decide what is right. You need to make a decision, and you need to own it. And sometimes, until the stakes are that high, till you make a mistake where you can't sleep for weeks, you won't be able to practice and implement it. Oh, I pray to God that you can before you make that mistake, right? But
I had a similar, probably less, consequential, but similar scenario in my life recently, where I had to make not a decision between what is right and wrong necessarily, but a decision between protecting one person over another and prioritizing which person is the person that I need to protect at the direct consequence of my relationship with the other person. Like, my relationship with that other person will not ever be back to what it was. But I had to make that choice because they what they wanted were not aligned, and I had to choose which, what side do I stand on here, and who do I back up.
So hard.
Yeah, it sucked. It really sucked. But
Sucks.
but the answer was like, I knew the answer obviously from the jump of who the person that. But then to get myself to actually do the thing that is in conflict with this other person that I care about, it's hard.
It's so hard. And the question, like something that I think both of us can do that other people can't necessarily do, that frightens us, is that
Touch our toes.
Touch our toes, right? We're very flexible. But what I was going to say is I can still love you and condemn your actions.
Yes.
I can say, like, hey, you are my best friend. I love you. I have compassion for you as a person. But what you did wasn't okay. But let's get beers next Monday night and let's talk about it. But, dude, that was really fucked up. And I'm not going to back you on that.
Yeah.
Right? And to be able to hold that thing, it's immense. Because the reason that people can't do that is because they're afraid that if I don't just say you're a bad person and write you off completely, I am going to be manipulated and I'm going to be convinced and into why you did what you did and justify it. And then I will become an immoral person. Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't like, it's like, do you trust your morality enough as an anchor, right, to lower yourself down, to still say hi to this person that's hiding in the depths of this cave and say like, hey man, I love you. You got yourself down here. It's rough. I'm here to help you get out. I'm not staying down here because this place sucks. I'm going up after this, but I will come down and I will visit you and we'll ascend together. Yeah. Right?
I'll help you put up some nicer posters.
Yeah.
While you're here.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they're like, I'm not going down there. That's where the bad people are. And
he's bad. He went down there and he's never come back up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, it's also, the choice to do that with people that are
redeemable
people. Yeah, like there have been people in my life that have done something that is still a redeemable thing to do. Or what they did is not.
They still can find wrong, redemption,
but they are still redeemable people. Mm-hmm. But they're in a low place. But it costs me more in my life, and it costs everyone around me in my life more if I prioritize this over everybody else, that where my status quo is, to go to them to do this because we're not, we're just not close enough. Like, it's the love bank thing. Where there are certain people that I know that are close to me where if something like that happened, I love you and you have done so much good for me and for my friendship with you, my family, my friends. You have been a positive influence in my life for so long. But this thing that you've done, I need you to know that this is not okay with me. Mm-hmm. But I will stand next to you and I will support you. I will not condone the thing that you did, but I will support you because you're worth it and because I have a surplus of love for you. But if you have never provided me any of the benefit or love in our friendship, and then you do something irredeemable, it's like, you might be redeemable, but it's not my job.
Right.
And I have to, and it's important for me. And I think, this is the Jesus complex or whatever, the savior complex rather, that many people have. It's like, it's really important to know what is and is not your job. And like, maybe I can help you. I can save you from yourself in this moment, but at such a cost to me and to other people who I have no right to bring into this, that it's just not my place. I can't do it.
Totally. And what I've learned over the years is that I don't have to save you at all, but just purely by saying like, I don't hate you
is saving enough.
Is all it needs is like, man, I feel for you. That was shitty. We all make mistakes. I'm here.
There's something that I talked about a long time ago about, these sort of ugly parts of ourselves that we all have, that we typically don't share. Hide them at the depths of our core. Because there is no way, if anybody saw these parts of ourselves, that they could love us. So we hide them completely. And because those parts of ourselves are only known to us and we hate them, then those parts of ourselves only know hate. It's the only thing they've ever experienced is hate. And if you have the courage, or sometimes you make the mistake and slip up, and you become vulnerable enough in a moment to allow someone else close to you to see one of those ugly parts of yourself that you just hate so much, and they provide it sympathy or a little bit of love, all of a sudden it reframes everything that you thought about this part of yourself, because it has never seen love before. And now it's getting some. And now you have no choice but to look at yourself and say, wow, I was wrong. This piece of myself is capable of being loved, because you, my friend, have proven that to me. And maybe I can crank it back up to the surface again a little bit more. It doesn't have to be all the way down there, because I had no idea that it was capable of being loved.
Right.
And the littlest act of compassion to anyone who feels that way about so much of themselves, it turns their light on, so much more than you could ever believe. The slightest hello, a hug, a good, a shaking a homeless person's hand, even though that they probably haven't showered in 2 weeks, and like they know that they're very dirty, might wipe their butt with their hand.
That's my wiping hand.
That's my always shake the right hand, not the left. But you know what I mean? Like when I can, I think that physical contact to someone who feels so unlovable and so dirty, just a little, like just a handshake, is gonna make them feel like they're human again. I live in New York City. Like everybody who's really, really struggling in this city, they're completely ignored by 1,000 people a day. Don't even look at you. You don't even make eye contact. And I can't imagine what that must feel like.
Yeah. One thing that I want to bring back of like where my fear of harming someone unintentionally comes from is like my entire childhood. I played rough. Like I'm just a rough player. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to, but especially also, you probably know, having a little sister, right? What's good for you is not good for her. And then, right? And then when she's hurt, even if it wasn't your fault, it's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I've unintentionally hurt so many people because I was also like, the things that people did to me, I thought it was okay to do. Like someone pulled the chair out from underneath me, then I thought it was okay to pull the chair out from someone else. And then I did that and they hit their head and then everybody shamed me and kicked me out of the camp. I thought it was going to be funny. It was funny when someone did it to me. Why is it not funny when I do it?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I suppose it would have been funny even when you did it if they didn't hit their head. But
no, it wouldn't have been funny one way or another because they're a little girl and I'm I'm a grown man. No, not because
this was last week.
This was last week. No, but I was probably like 7 and they were like 5 and someone did it to me and I did it to them and right, but like so there's like a lack of trust in that I know what is right, because so many times where I thought I was doing something harmless and innocent, like jumping up to scare my friend, they crack their head open, right? Yeah. Or I ride down the driveway on the skateboard on my belly and then they do it and it goes up and breaks their glasses, or like every day, almost every week I did something where someone hurt somebody where they followed me, and a lot of times it was like I jump here, then they try to jump, then they can't make it, and then they fall in the creek, and it's winter time, and it's my fault.
Yeah, because why would you put them?
Why would you jump from that rock over a frozen creek?
Yeah, it's like because I thought it'd be fun, and I'm fine.
And I'm fine.
They just weren't. It's funny to see how clearly this experience has resulted in this like deep fear. in your
Because then
life.
I'm like, and that's why I want people to laugh, because I'm like, they fall, and then I'm like, laugh, come on, it's funny, laugh,
Yeah,
laugh.
it's okay. If the second
It's
you
okay.
laugh, it's okay. I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, and if you laugh, then it's good. But if you don't, then I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it besides just put my head down and say I'm sorry. Because
Yeah.
any justification or anything just makes it worse. It's just like,
I didn't
didn't
mean
know.
to.
I didn't mean to. I didn't know. But that's where these kinds of fears come from.
Yeah, seemingly benign things that happen when you're little that suddenly when you're thrust into a, kind of like the king peasant thing that we were talking about before, with great power comes great responsibility. Like everything's relatively benign when you're a kid. But once you get older and your responsibility grows and your circle of influence expands through no fault or choice of your own, just by the reality of being an adult now, everything kind of carries more weight. Every decision you make matters more to other people. And hey, buddy, the other
Right.
one's in here now. But yeah, and you're on the hook. You're on the hook for your decisions. You're on your hook for your impulses, for your mistakes, for everything.
Right,
It's all you, right or wrong.
And I guess the learning from that is that you put the monkey in a cage until you are confident that you've been able to train the monkey so that it can come out of the cage. And I guess
Yeah.
where I'm at is I put that monkey in a cage, right?
And now you're not sure yet if you should open the door.
Yeah, well, now it's on a leash, right? But it so wants to be free, and it so wants to like swing and climb through the trees and express like the fullness of what it is, right? But even when it was in the cage, it grabbed a couple people and took their wallet, you know what I mean, and didn't let go, and then they, more months in the cage.
Yeah, smash their face against the bar. Buddy, hold on. Speaking
Yeah.
of monkey in a cage, buddy, get off of there.
Cool.
But
Let's wrap it up.
yeah, let's wrap it up. Too many minutes now to spend with you, Cayce Kolodney. How dare I spend all this time?
Oh no, I actually do have a meeting at 6 though.
Oh yeah, just
It's
for anyone
now.
who's still listening, Casey's 6 hours ahead of me right now, so
Mhm.
we are doing this from the future.
Indeed.
Yeah, Cayce, I love you so much.
I love you.
We'll do this again after your dark retreat.
All right, and I'll report back what happened, if it's what we think it was, and if I transcend my fear of, hurting people.
Exactly. And yeah,
Hope
we'll
not
know.
too much. Yeah.
Not too much. You won't transcend it too much.
Right.
All right.
All
Love
right.
you, brother.
I love you, man. Bye.
Bye.